my husband was reborn. The first thing he did in his new life was to bypass me, trapped in the rubble of our collapsed house from the earthquake, and dig through the ruins on the other side. I felt no pain, only relief. In this life, I no longer have to bear the burden of his mother becoming permanently disabled because he saved me instead of her. No longer do I have to slave for his family like a servant, sacrificing my blood, sweat, and freedom to atone. Even death would be fine. I refuse to relive the hardships of my past life. The original me was beautiful, vivacious, outgoing, and capable, the apple of my parents' eye and a rising star in my superior's eyes. After marrying Simon, all that beauty shattered, ushering in 20 years of nightmares. Simon's mother would always scream at me, "If it weren't for my son saving you first, I wouldn't have lost my legs and become a cripple." Simon's younger sister would also sob and curse, "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't be a pitiful child without a mother to care for me." Simon himself regretted countless times, "If I hadn't saved you, I wouldn't have become an unfilial son, leaving my mother disabled. You should have been the one in that wheelchair, you owe our entire family." Yes. It's all because he saved me first that I owe his entire family. I used my parents' dowry to buy them a downtown apartment and sent Simon's younger sister to the most expensive private high school. Simon claimed he suffered workplace bullying and angrily quit his job to stay home playing video games. When I urged him to find work, he'd smash computers and throw mice in rage. If I didn't have to see my mother like that every day, I wouldn't feel guilty, make mistakes at work, get bullied by colleagues and superiors, or quit my job. The real me was highly valued by my boss and about to get promoted. Hearing these words, I couldn't very well insist he work anymore. I obediently bought him a high-performance computer and mouse so he could game more comfortably at home. The only one in the household who didn't use words to oppress me was Simon's father. However, he was the idle, useless member of the family with no say in anything. Each time, he'd only offer some lukewarm attempts at mediation before turning his full attention back to the television. I shouldered the financial burden for all 5 family members, working diligently every day in constant fear of losing my job. After work, I had to rush home to cook meals and handle all the household chores. If I ever came home even slightly late, the entire family would glare at me angrily, not a single person would wash a vegetable or mop the floor. I owed them, so I didn't dare talk back. I could only bury the frustration in my heart, which led to blocked mammary ducts and eventually developed into breast cancer, causing my death. At the company, I originally had the opportunity for an overseas assignment and promotion. But their family couldn't manage without my care, so I didn't even dare to work overtime, let alone take an overseas assignment for training. As a result, juniors who were less capable and qualified than me all climbed over my head one by one, becoming my supervisors. And I remained a small accountant day after day, year after year, often being mocked and bullied. I didn't dare to resign either, as the whole family depended on my salary. Of course, my mere 10,000 yuan salary alone wasn't enough to support so many people. I still rely on my parents for monthly support. They feel sorry for me and give me most of their pension. Before I married Simon, they lived very comfortably. They would travel whenever they had time, wore clothes from brand stores costing thousands, and often bought all kinds of delicious food. After my marriage, they pitied me and silently endured supporting Simon's family through me. They started buying clothes and shoes from street stalls. My mom, who always complained about the smell at the wet market and only shopped at supermarkets, began going to the market, even buying discounted, out-of-season vegetables. My father often coughed but refused to go to the hospital to save money, relying only on folk remedies, which delayed treatment until he was diagnosed with terminal lung cancer. Unable to bear the grief of my father's passing, my mother succumbed to depression and soon followed him in death. Perhaps due to prolonged stress and exhaustion, I suffered multiple miscarriages before becoming completely infertile. Simon's mother called me a barren hen. Simon met a woman in an online game, secretly had 2 children with her behind my back, and used my money to support them. Believing I owed his family, I endured silently, until I was diagnosed with breast cancer. Afraid of cancer pain, I mustered my courage and leaped from the 30th floor. Unexpectedly, I was reborn. Even more surprisingly, Simon was also reborn. Simon was anxiously calling for his mother while disregarding his bleeding fingers as he dug through the rubble of bricks and wooden beams. Before the earthquake, this had been a small single-story shop awaiting demolition. Simon and I were just ordinary colleagues from different departments. That day, I happened to pass by wanting to buy a bottle of water when we encountered a magnitude 5 earthquake. The entire single-story building collapsed, trapping me inside. Right before entering the shop, I had just greeted Simon. Seeing me trapped inside, he rushed to rescue me and pulled me out of the wreckage. Unexpectedly, his mother was also shopping there when a beam crushed her legs. By the time rescuers arrived and pulled her out, her legs were completely ruined, never to stand again. If only I had been able to save my mom in time, she wouldn't have ended up like this, Simon said regretfully countless times. This time, he was reborn, given a chance to make up for his regrets. His parents were still alive, he couldn't let them bury their child. He had to fight for his own survival. I glanced at my surroundings and realized my situation wasn't as bad as I'd thought. The beam that had fallen on me was somehow propped up by something, so it hadn't actually crushed me. However, my head was injured by falling roof tiles and was bleeding. My foot was also pinned by debris, causing some pain, but it didn't seem to have damaged the bones or tendons. Gritting my teeth against the pain from my injuries, I mustered all my strength to push against the beam. The beam was heavy, and my current strength was too feeble, I couldn't budge it at all. Just as I was about to give up in despair, a man covered in blood and dust emerged from the rubble not far away. He stood up, shaking off the dirt from his body. Afraid of owing someone a favor like in my past life, I didn't call for help, just clenched my teeth and strained to save myself. The man turned his head and saw me. He walked over and was about to help me move the beam when I stopped him, saying, "Thank you, but I don't need your help." The man's face, smeared with blood and dust, froze momentarily before he laughed and replied, "Don't worry, I won't demand you repay my kindness with your hand in marriage." His words pierced my heart like an awl, sending a shiver down my spine. No. I refused to owe anyone a favor. Gritting my teeth, I pushed with all my might. That impossibly heavy beam actually moved. It's true what they say, when pushed to the brink, human potential knows no bounds. The man gave me a thumbs up, "You've shown me what a true warrior looks like." Ignoring him, I pulled myself out of the rubble, shaking off the debris and dust. My foot was injured, so I could only sit. Turning to look at Simon on the other side, I saw he had already dug his mother out of the wreckage. Her legs must have been crushed, covered in blood. "Mom, don't be afraid. I'll carry you to the hospital right now." "Your legs will be fine," Simon reassured his wailing mother in pain as he bent down to lift her onto his back. As he passed by me, he gave me a slightly surprised glance before hurrying away. Watching their retreating figures, I felt as if I had been granted a great reprieve. In this lifetime, I have nothing to do with their family anymore. "Shall I help you to the hospital?" The man looked at my bleeding foot and reached out to support me. "Thanks, but I don't need it." I pushed his hand away, covering my bleeding head, and waited until the rescue team and ambulance arrived. The rescue team put both of us in the same ambulance. After arriving at the hospital, we were even placed in the same room. "I don't quite understand why you're guarding against me as if I were a thief." The man asked me with utter confusion, "Could there have been some misunderstanding between us before?" "No," I replied indifferently, "I just don't want to owe anyone favors, I'm afraid I won't be able to repay them." The man muttered, "It's just a small act of help during a disaster. What's there to repay?" I smiled bitterly to myself. In my past life, it was precisely this kind of small act of help that cost me my entire life, even my parents' peaceful and comfortable old age. Yes, my parents. Realizing they're still alive and healthy now, I got so excited. Just as I was about to ask the nurse to borrow a phone to call them, I saw my parents push the door open with anxious expressions. Seeing my parents in their early 50s, my eyes instantly reddened. In my past life, I truly owed them too much. After their deaths, I even sold their property to continue supporting Simon's family. Pearl, how are you? Mom choked up as she gripped my hand, looking at me with loving concern in her eyes. I quickly reassured her, it's nothing, just superficial injuries and a sprained ankle. I'll be fine after some rest. It's good that you're okay, you scared us to death. Mom let out a relieved sigh and pulled me into her arms. Nestled in that long-missed warmth of my mother's embrace, I burst into tears again. In this life, I won't let my parents suffer because of me anymore. I must take good care of them and ensure they enjoy their golden years in peace. Sir, ma'am, is she your daughter? The man beside us spoke up again. My parents turned to look, surprise written across their faces. Mom exclaimed, Noah? How did you get hurt too? Noah shrugged helplessly, I happened to be at that collapsed building site too. Mom asked concernedly again, are you okay? Just some minor injuries, nothing serious. Thank heavens you're both alright. Mom let out another sigh of relief, then said to me, Pearl, Noah is the son of your father's comrade-in-arms Uncle Cavendish. He just returned from abroad not long ago. Our parents were actually planning to arrange a meeting between you two, but who knew you'd become disaster companions first? Hearing this, I vaguely recalled. In my past life, after the earthquake, my parents mentioned introducing me to a blind date named Noah. At that time, I was grateful for Simon's life-saving grace and busy helping him care for his hospitalized mother, so I refused the blind date. After being emotionally manipulated by his entire family, I even foolishly married him in a whirlwind romance. When Noah washed off the blood and dirt covering his face, his sharp features and handsome, rugged appearance perfectly matched my aesthetic preferences. However, my mental age was already in my 40s. Having endured that terrible marriage with Simon in my previous life, I had long lost all illusions and expectations about men. So, no matter how handsome he is, it has nothing to do with me. In this life, I just want to spend quality time with my parents, focus on my career, and enjoy the freedom of the sunshine. No one can make me step into the cage of marriage again. I gave Noah the cold shoulder, but he was still warm and considerate toward me, acting like he was my boyfriend. I told him clearly many times not to waste his time and energy on me, as I have no interest in men. But I'm very interested in you and willing to spend time on you. Instead of being discouraged, Noah became even more persistent, probably because it fueled his desire to conquer. Noah wheeled me, still unable to walk and confined to a wheelchair, to the CT room for scans. At the doorway, we bumped into Simon. He was also pushing his mother in a wheelchair. I couldn't help glancing at Simon's mother's leg, noticing the plaster cast, probably broken. I just didn't know if she'd end up disabled like in our previous life. I tried to pretend I didn't recognize him, but unexpectedly he suddenly let go of the wheelchair, rushed forward, and angrily pointed at Noah demanding, "Who is he?" Before I could answer, Noah stepped forward and said, "I'm her boyfriend." "Who are you? Where are your manners?" Simon was furious and shouted at me sharply, "Pearl, how dare you cheat on me behind my back?" His words made everyone around look at me and point fingers at me. Having been gaslighted by him in my past life, I almost felt guilty, my face flushed red as I tried to explain. Bullshit. Noah's two resounding words snapped me out of it. Right. In this life, I have nothing to do with Simon. I immediately straightened up with righteous indignation and said coldly, "Simon, at most we're merely nodding acquaintances as colleagues. If you're mentally unwell, please go see a psychiatrist instead of bothering me." Simon froze for a moment, realizing he had been reborn 20 years into the past. At this time, Pearl wasn't yet his wife. Remembering her dull, plain appearance from his previous life, her simple clothes reeking of kitchen grease and sweat, he secretly felt a surge of relief. In this new life, he had no intention of marrying that boring, sallow-faced woman who couldn't even bear children. He would go straight to Nancy and live happily ever after. Although my mother's leg was also crushed by the beam, the doctor said that with timely treatment, it could gradually recover to normal and wouldn't leave her disabled again. Sorry, I was just stunned for a moment. Simon apologized to me, but his eyes were full of disdain and contempt. I'd seen this look too many times in my past life. Whatever. It's not like we have anything to do with each other anymore. Still, I had to return the favor. I shot him a scornful glare and coldly said, "You're insane." Simon's face twitched with suppressed anger, but he didn't lash out. Instead, he wheeled his mother away. My tense shoulders finally relaxed. I looked up, only to meet Noah's thoughtful gaze fixed upon me. My heart fluttered in panic, and I quickly lowered my head to avoid his eyes. Not wanting to run into Simon again at the hospital, and since the examination results showed no major issues like fractures or broken bones, I quickly went through the discharge procedures. Since my parents deliberately didn't come, I had no choice but to rely on Noah to take me home. Sitting in a wheelchair at the hospital entrance, waiting for Noah, I spotted Claire, Simon's sister from my past life. The moment she saw me, she walked over and stretched out her hand. "Give me $200, I need to buy sportswear." It seems she has also been reborn. She still thinks I'm that sister-in-law she can take advantage of at will. Who are you? Are you crazy? Do I even know you? I pretended not to recognize her, keeping a cold expression as I snapped at her angrily. Claire froze, staring at me with disbelief. In our previous life, no matter how unreasonable, willful, or demanding she was, I had always tolerated her and never snapped back. Because it was my fault that she, just a teenager, didn't have a healthy and normal mother to care for her. So, I had to take her mother's place, to care for her and tolerate her. Claire seemed to realize something, eyeing me suspiciously. You don't recognize me? I don't know you. What about Simon? He's my brother. You haven't married him yet? Are you crazy? Why would I marry your brother? I haven't even had more than a couple of conversations with him. I have a boyfriend, so please stop talking nonsense in front of me. I saw Noah's car approaching and quickly waved my hand. Although I didn't want to get involved with Noah either, to shake off the entanglement from Simon's family, he had to become my tool. Noah got out of the car and approached me. Claire, seeing the handsome Noah, widened her starstruck eyes, practically drooling with infatuation. Noah bent down, about to pick me up, when Claire stopped him. "Do you realize she's going to be my sister-in-law?" Noah gave her a cold glance and uttered the same two words as before, "You're crazy." It's true. She really will become my sister-in-law. And what's more, she's a barren hen. Even if she gets pregnant, she'll miscarry, and in the end, she'll get breast cancer. Don't be with her, you'll regret it. Claire anxiously grabbed Noah's arm, batting her heavily lined, dead fish eyes and throwing a flirtatious glance. "Hey handsome, look at me. I'm younger and prettier than her, and I'm great at bearing children." Noah said coldly, "I suggest you go over to the fountain." Claire's face lit up with delight. "Are you asking me to wait for you there?" "Confirming our relationship by the fountain, so romantic." "The fountain has water, you can use it as a mirror to see how ugly you are." Noah's merciless sarcasm left Claire's face flushed with humiliation, then she turned her anger on me. "Pearl. Did you say something about me to him?" I rolled my eyes at her. "Get lost. I don't even know who you are. Your face isn't that important for me to gossip about you. How dare you insult me? I'll have my brother beat you up." Claire shrieked, jumping to her feet in rage. Just like in our previous life. The moment I didn't cater to her whims, she'd threatened to call her brother to beat me or flip tables in front of me. Right now, I wanted nothing more than to slap her across the face, but feared she'd make false accusations, so I held back. Slap. Unexpectedly, Noah actually struck. He slapped Claire across the mouth, asking for a beating. "What kind of trash is your brother? How dare he hit my girlfriend? You hit me? You dare hit me? Pearl, you bitch, just wait until you marry my brother, I'll never let you off." Claire clutched her reddened cheek, glaring at me with hatred. Heh, how laughable. I wasn't the one who hit her, so why put the blame on me? But this has always been their family's habit. Every misfortune in the household is somehow my fault. Slap. Noah struck another blow, saying coldly, "If you dare disrespect my girlfriend again, I'll make sure your whole family can't survive in this city." Claire was frightened by him and asked weakly but unwillingly, "Who do you think you are, talking so big?" "The Cavendish family of City A, come at me if you dare," Noah said coldly before lifting me into the passenger seat of the car and gently fastening my seatbelt. Looking at his handsome face so close to mine, so gentle, my heart fluttered as if lightly brushed by a feather, stirring with an unusual thrill. In my previous life, after I married Simon, I was never treated with gentleness by him. He treated me like a housemaid, and even when I had a high fever of 40 degrees, he refused to pour me a glass of water. Once, when I had acute appendicitis in the middle of the night, I endured the pain alone and went to the hospital. I fainted on the way, and it was the taxi driver who kindly took me to emergency care and helped me with the hospitalization procedures. Looking back now, I realize how foolish I was, brainwashed by PUA. It wasn't like I begged Simon to save me. Why did I feel so morally indebted to his entire family that I ended up sacrificing my whole life? Aren't you curious about those two siblings? I couldn't help but ask Noah, who seemed completely unfazed. Noah replied indifferently, "There are plenty of sick people in the world, nothing strange about that." I didn't say anything more. Naturally, I wouldn't tell him I was reborn to avoid unnecessary trouble. Noah drove me to my doorstep. Seeing the familiar front door, my eyes couldn't help but redden. In my past life, Simon had forced me to sell this place, and the new house we bought ended up being occupied by him and his mistress. My parents warmly invited Noah inside to stay for dinner. Noah didn't decline either. He familiarly went to the kitchen to help wash and prepare vegetables, making my mother laugh like silver bells. After dinner, he even helped with the dishes. Once done, he joined my father to watch a football match. After he left, my parents held my hands with great satisfaction. "Pearl, Noah is truly wonderful. He comes from a good family, has a high education, and is the company's vice president. If it weren't for your father's military comrade relationship with his father, you wouldn't find such a good man even if you searched with a lantern." Noah's performance indeed satisfied me. But I couldn't just jump out of one pit and rush into another. I shook my head. "Mom, Dad, I'm only 23 now. I want to spend more time with you and focus on my career. Marriage is not something I'm considering for the time being." "Alright, as you wish." To my surprise, Mom agreed readily and didn't push for marriage anymore. "Whatever decision you make, my dear, Mom will support you." Hearing these words, I could barely hold back my tears as I buried my face in my mother's embrace. In my past life, because of my foolishness, I had dragged my parents down with me. I had been so deeply manipulated by Simon's family that I couldn't extricate myself, leaving my parents no choice but to unconditionally support me and find ways to ease my burdens. After my foot injury healed, I returned to the company. The familiar cubicle, the familiar work, only the faces around me had grown younger. A colleague next to me immediately leaned over when she saw me, whispering mysteriously, "Pearl, did you know? Our company's Simon won 5 million in the lottery and quit immediately. So enviable." "I don't know." I feigned indifference, though I was actually a bit shocked. I never expected Simon to still remember the winning lottery numbers. In his previous life, he was also fond of buying lottery tickets, dreaming of striking it rich, but the most he ever won was 5,000 yuan. I had never bought a lottery ticket before. However, Simon's strategy of leveraging his knowledge as a reborn individual reminded me. Following my own memories, I also bought stocks, planning to cash out later and directly become a billionaire. I invested all the money I had saved since childhood, a total of 200,000 yuan, into a mythical tech stock that would multiply 500-fold in 3 years, and then waited to reap the rewards. After doing all this, I started working hard. "Pearl, our department is going to send someone to the overseas headquarters for a month of training. After management discussion, we've decided to choose you. What do you think?" The finance manager finished reviewing the spreadsheet I had prepared using my 20 years of experience from my previous life and said to me with satisfaction. I quickly nodded, "I'm willing." In my previous life, I also had this opportunity at this time. But back then, I declined to take care of Simon's mother. Since heaven has given me a chance to be reborn, I'm going to be myself now. Leaving the office, I saw Simon packing up his things after resigning. He stopped me and said smugly, "Pearl, from now on I'll be someone you can't reach for." "Oh," I responded indifferently. Every additional glance at him filled me with disgust. "Pearl, what kind of attitude is this? Do you have any idea how much you've lost by missing out on me?" My attitude angered Simon, and he shouted loudly, drawing many onlookers. "You're crazy. I barely know you. Even if you had mountains of gold and silver, what's it got to do with me?" I finished speaking coldly and left. I really wanted to see how far he could go in this lifetime. After bidding farewell to my parents, I boarded a plane to the company's overseas headquarters. The month-long training program proved immensely beneficial for me. Leveraging the 20 extra years of work experience from my Rebirth and my software optimizations, I performed exceptionally well. I was personally received and praised by the company's president, who directly promoted me to vice president of finance with an annual salary of $500,000. This was something I had only dared to dream about in my previous life. Yet in this lifetime, I achieved it effortlessly. After returning to China, I continued working diligently and conscientiously, optimizing the entire company's financial management system. A headhunter offered me $1 million annual salary to poach me. Remembering where my success came from, I chose to stay with the company. Of course, it was also out of pettiness. I wanted to prove wrong those who had looked down on me in my past life. In this life, I will become their superior. I will return every single thing they did and said to me, exactly as it was. I thought Simon and I would never cross paths again, but unexpectedly, we met once more. He was being chased by debt collectors on the street. When he saw me, he immediately crawled over, clung to my leg, and begged, "Honey, please help me pay off my debts. I'll love you forever. Get lost." I kicked him away. "Who's your wife?" "You're his wife? Then you have to pay his debt. He owes us $500,000. The man leading the group said to me aggressively. "She is my wife. Whoever owes you money, go find them." Before I could speak, Noah appeared out of nowhere and stood by my side, saying, "So it's Noah's woman, sorry, my apologies." The man bowed and scraped an apology to Noah, then stepped on Simon and started beating him up. "Save me, Pearl, save me," Simon wailed. I didn't even glance at him, walking away proudly with Noah. "By the way, when are you finally going to agree to be my girlfriend?" Noah asked, gazing at me with burning eyes. Avoiding his gaze, I answered coolly, 5 years. I'll consider it after I've established my career. Without a moment's hesitation, Noah replied, "I'll wait." Looking at his sincere and sunny handsome face, my heart couldn't help but waver, that much was undeniable. But I wouldn't be foolish again. As a woman, one shouldn't covet temporary affection from others, only independence and self-reliance can bring true freedom. The colleague living near Simon gossiped to me again, saying that although Simon won $5 million in the lottery, he fell into an online romance scam. Not only had the $5 million been swindled away, but they'd also borrowed hundreds of thousands in high-interest loans. The family's small house had been mortgaged, forcing the 4 of them to live in the cheapest rental unit available. What's strange is, my colleague hesitated before continuing, "Simon often berates his mother, blaming her for not saving you back then. He says if he'd rescued you first, he could have made you toil for him like a beast of burden for life. That's truly bizarre. You weren't even seriously hurt in that earthquake. How could he possibly expect you to repay his imagined mercy by dedicating your entire life to servitude? Who would be that foolish?" I smiled bitterly. Yes, I was that foolish in my past life. Fortunately, I'd been given a second chance. To avoid unnecessary trouble from Simon harassing us at home, I bought a large house and moved there with my family of 3. My father's early-stage lung adenocarcinoma was detected in time. After surgery, he regained his health. As for my breasts, without the emotional blockages of my previous life, they remained perfectly healthy. My stocks multiplied 100-fold, netting me 200 million when I cashed out. I resigned from my company, gathered a team, and founded an AI company to develop an intelligent assistant that would become wildly popular in the future, seizing the advantages of being a reincarnator. The company's growth was faster than I had imagined. In less than 3 years, it became a billion-dollar enterprise, securing a place among China's leading tech companies. As for Simon's family, occasionally my curiosity got the better of me, and I'd still inquire about their news. Simon was drowning in debt, still addicted to gaming and refusing to find work. His mother scolded him and unplugged his internet cable. In a fit of rage, he picked up a dumbbell and brutally smashed both of her legs. They couldn't afford proper treatment and had to settle for a small clinic, which led to severe inflammation and rotting bones, ultimately resulting in amputation. Unable to afford a wheelchair, she was forced to drag her crippled legs and walk using her hands. Claire didn't have the money to finish high school either and had to drop out to find work. She met a so-called rich second-generation boyfriend, only to be deceived and lose contact with him. Simon's father, who had no real work skills, could only eke out a living by polishing shoes for passers-by on crowded street corners every day. As for Simon, he went looking for that Nancy from his past life, the one who bore his children and swore she loved him, only to have her spit in his face and call him delusional. Then he truly lost his mind, turning into a ragged madman wandering the streets, telling everyone that the tech queen was supposed to be his wife and that he should have been worth billions. Heh. In this life, he can only dream. I am my own person, not someone's wife. As for Noah, who never gave up on me, we're living together now. We have an agreement, cohabitation without marriage, no marital obligations, and no responsibility for each other's families. Money, career, freedom, and a compatible life partner. How perfect.